Well, here we are again. It's Philippa, and we're live on Moving Through Menopause. I'm so excited to have Nikkiey Stott here today, certified personal trainer and the founder of WarriorBabe. You know what, Nikki, I absolutely love that you call it that.
Oh, thank you.
It's so fun. We're going to be learning all about today how to track our macronutrients. I kind of heard of this, but I really am looking forward to unpicking this with you, Nikki, honestly, and why building muscle is such a good idea when we're around this time of menopause. And I'm right on board with you, but I'm not as good at it as you clearly are.
You're doing good.
Oh, well, I try is what I'm going to say. But let me just, before we dive into our topic, invite our listeners to subscribe on Apple Podcasts to catch up with all these episodes and really try and master this menopause transition. Please like and share with your nearest and dearest. And so for our topic today, Nikki, thanks so much for joining me. And let's dive straight in. I'm really, really wanting to spread this message of building muscle for women in midlife. And you're doing such an amazing job with the work that you do, helping women on this path. And so, first of all, I'd love to hear a bit more about your story, because I know that you are a prize-winning bodybuilder.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me on this show with you and for all your kind words there. A little bit about me. So back in, we'll skip all the early years stuff. I did play sports growing up. And then I fell into like the lull of, after high school to college, what do I do? And, fell into, and I missed the routine of having your coach and practice and schedules and games and competition. So in 2015, I entered, I was like a New Year's resolution baby. I was like, January 1st, here we go. I'm going to get my act together. And I traveled on for about 3 months trying to figure it out by myself. I was Pinteresting workouts. I was Googling what foods were made up of protein. And because I heard that protein was really important to building muscle and getting stronger. And then about 3 months into the new year, I was like, okay, I'm not where I want to be. I was trying to get everything super fast. And I sought out a coach. I saw the whole bodybuilding world online and on social media. And I was like, oh, what are these people doing? They have the results that I want. So let me try to do what they're doing. And so there was a local bodybuilding coach around me, and I signed up with him and went on the journey of about like a 7-8 month trek to prep, or what they call like the prep of bodybuilding, leading up to my first show that was in November of 2015. And those months were they were a journey. They were challenging. They were rewarding. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of, excitement. But then leading to my first show in 2015, I won. And then it was a small federation at that time. And then, then I was like, okay, I want more. Let's go do more. And then I went on to compete again in 2016 in a different federation, the Natural Federation of Bodybuilding, called the OCB in the States. And I had to take a polygraph test. I had to pee in a cup after I won, but I won that show too as well. And I won the title of Women's Physique Pro. So I won a pro card. And then I took about 2 years off, or a year and a half off. And in 2018, I went and competed again against the pros at this point. So there's about 8 or 9 pros on stage with me, and I beat them. So it was a journey. Bodybuilding was a journey. The whole everything you have to go through the nutrition and the training, it was a lot to the body. I really enjoyed the discipline that I developed, the mindset I developed. If you want this goal, you have to do this work to get it. And I think that's carried along my journey. But the nutrition and the diet aspect and the workout aspect was a little too much through those 3 years for my body. So that's where I learned the world of macronutrients. I wanted to dive into understanding them a little bit more because I knew that there was women out there / people out there sustainably living in a way that wasn't the bodybuilding call. Like the bodybuilding is like egg whites, chicken, broccoli, tilapia, like all of that stuff every single day. And I knew that I saw there was a better way. So I wanted to learn about the world of macronutrients and I dove into it. And I'm sure we'll get to all of the things that I learned at the beginning of my journey with it, because it's definitely a struggle, but it's the most rewarding thing and it's backed by science. So now I am living the life of sustainability, eating all the foods I love and tracking my macros and strength training at half of the days that I was when I was bodybuilding. You know, I was bodybuilding, training 6 to 7 days in a week, and now I only train about 4. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a competitive sport, essentially. So that is like a full-time job, isn't it? That training that goes into it, like any competitor, you're operating at that level. And I kind of understand it a little bit. My dad was an Olympic athletics coach, so the commitment that goes into training. I've been surrounded by that ethos the whole of my life, really. And my dad had weights in our shed, as it goes, when
Awesome.
I was a kid. So I think I lifted my first weights when I was about 14 or 15, something like that. Amazing. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, I have to say, is one of my heroes.
Me too.
I've read his autobiography, and that mind that it takes to really excel at anything, to succeed and excel. So I do have also a professional interest. I call it this, in the body, the physique, and I do admire that muscular physique, because I don't know, I like muscles, I'm going to say out loud.
Me too.
Yeah, and on a woman, what better place than muscles for women, especially this journey of menopause and the importance of muscle as an organ. Not just a luxury or a something to be desired. It has this purpose and this function, and muscle protects us. Muscle drives our metabolism. I don't need to tell you how good muscles are. I'm sure.
Muscles are a beautiful thing.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. But I must say, I am on this journey for myself and for the people that I work with to kind of try and crack the code of building muscle. And I mentioned to you earlier, my son is a bodybuilder, so I've lived with somebody who eats chicken and rice, followed by chicken and rice, and probably about 5 times a day.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So the dedication, so the nutrition is a big piece of this puzzle, isn't it? But it equally seems like ridiculously monotonous and restrictive. So this is where you've been trying to translate this into something that's a bit more, as you say, sustainable, because that's really important, isn't it?
Correct. Yes. Bodybuilding, you're given a meal plan to follow. Now, there are some coaches that do the macronutrients and, dial it down with the training. But for vast majority of the coaches out there in the bodybuilding space, it's a meal plan that you're supposed to follow that give you specifics about 5, different meals in a day that are the chicken, broccoli, rice, egg whites, tilapia, salmon, and maybe some oatmeal occasionally. But yeah, there's that. And that's about like, maybe 15, 20 different food options on one blend. And there's a vast, amazing ecosystem of foods and brands, and, being able to use all of what's at your fingertips, even, some of this, if you want to be able to have, like, I have Dove chocolate at the end of every single night. I couldn't do that in the bodybuilding world, but I can do that in this world with macronutrients, as long as it And when I say like it fits into your macros, I don't want everyone to, I don't like the if it fits in your macros, because people could like make their day consist of 80% fast food and snacks and things like that, and then like 20% of actual whole quality food, where it should be the reverse. So I just wanted to highlight that
Sure.
yeah, if it fits your macros is about the quality that you eat and fuel your body with.
Yeah, no, definitely. Real food is what we're talking about,
Yes.
and occasional indulgences. You know, and not all food is equal. Dark chocolate, you know, has antioxidants, and if it's over 70%, is it, or 75% anyway? And I like dark chocolate, so I'm quite on board with that
Yeah.
one.
It scratches the itch, you know?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We've got to live. And actually, I was listening to a really interesting podcast the other day with a sports scientist researcher, very well known, except I can't remember his name. And you know, they were talking about the 80-20 rule, the fact that training, zone 2 training is still has, you know, great health benefits, rather than always having to think of going at it whole guns blazing, you know. And I think that applies a lot in life, that general rule of what you do 80% of the time is what's going to yield results. And then we've got to allow ourselves to live and exist in this modern life, haven't we? I mean,
Yes, you have to. If you're restricting yourself with saying you can't have certain food groups, it's like me telling you not to think of a pink elephant. It's like you're thinking of a pink elephant. You're going to somehow or another, you know, incorporate those things that you're trying to restrict, because it's just how we are as human nature. So allow yourself to have it, but just be aware of the quantity and serving size that you're giving yourself, and know when to stop, know when to say no, know when to put it down, know when to put it away. So yeah.
yeah, because you can even have too much of a good thing, can't you, at the end
Oh,
of the day?
totally. Yeah. You could
Yeah.
either have a little bowl of ice cream, or you could have the entire pint of ice cream. Which one's going to serve you and your goals?
Well, quite. So tell me though, because, you know, I don't want to appear dim, but macronutrients. So as far as I'm concerned, food, we can divide it into things like carbohydrates, proteins, fats. What else is there?
Those are the three main macronutrients. Alcohol is
Okay.
also considered a macronutrient, but there's about 7 grams per calorie. But it's not one that's, you know, really talked about too much. However, it's out there and people consume it.
Yeah, well, and it definitely counts. You know, we can't think of that as something that we can just do without counting it anywhere. So it definitely counts, doesn't it?
Correct. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But your main three are the protein, the fats, and the carbs.
Okay. So then we're thinking about consuming certain amounts of each of these food groups to comprise a healthy plate. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, correct. So you know, broadly speaking, and I want to first say that when you're learning to track your macronutrients, there is a world of online calculators out there that can help and support how, and to get you started, at least if you aren't in the place of which to hire a coach. But I gotta say, like, those numbers are just maybe starting numbers, / are also not taking into account your lifestyle, your hormone profile, you know, and then the goals that you want to get after. So, and then also just like, you know, at a human level, knowing what human to human, what are you struggling with, and how can the nutrition aspect help you? So diving a little bit deeper, you know, individually, there's everybody in the macronutrient world should have a little bit of different numbers given when you're talking about the protein, the fats, and the carbs across the board. So someone could be at an 1,800 calorie goal, and then the makeup of the protein, fats, and carbs will be different. Same with the 2,000 calorie goal, 2,200 calorie goal. The macro breakdown will be a little bit different. But broadly speaking, if your listeners are looking to like, okay, well, what's made up of a plate, and you know, what would be a protein, fat, and carb number ratio that I could go off of, 30% protein in your day, 30% fats in your day, and then 40% carbs in your day. That's generally the broad speaking. And that depends off of the overall calorie number that you're focusing on for yourself.
Okay. So, yeah, we're talking about nourishing the body with enough energy so that it can do all the wonderful chemical processes that are required. And like you said, that's going to be different for different people at different ages and different stages of life, and different demands on our physical bodies if we're working a manual job or if we're sat at a desk all day. So there's a lot of variables for us to take into consideration when we're coming up with this. And this is where you're talking about working with people to develop individualized plans that they can then work with a coach to implement to achieve the goals that they've got, taking into all these different variables into consideration.
Yes. That too, I want to piggyback off of what you just said there, is that I maybe have just thrown out the broadly speaking numbers of macronutrients. However, in the world of menopause, these numbers drastically are different. That ratio is drastically different because the hormonal profile is changing in a woman's body. And the number one macronutrient that helps in the support of that is fats. So the fat ratio will be a little bit higher, the carb ratio will be a little bit lower, and the protein number will stay the same. Protein numbers across the board. And if you're breaking it down, okay, I just gave you a percentage, but we can dive a little bit deeper and we can talk about grams. For all the women listening, protein is the one macronutrient that a lot of women have a hard time getting in. I see a lot of women who come into WarriorBabe that are at first of all, they have no idea where their numbers are at. And then we have them track for the first 7 days and they're like, holy moly, I'm only eating like 800 calories in a day. And I'm just like, can you imagine why you're feeling the way you're feeling and why you're not getting the results that you want to get? People are vastly under eating. But the one thing that we see is okay, the protein number is at 60 grams in a day. That's very similar to what a dialysis patient would be on, just putting it into a comparison here. For a normal individual, you should be having anywhere upwards of your body weight per 1 gram per your body weight of protein. So say, for example, I weigh 150 pounds. I should be eating 150 grams of protein in a day. And then women will kind of holy moly, that's a lot. And then there's all these other questions that come behind hearing that number. But let me break it down. 100, just using 100 as an example, 100 grams of protein in a day. Because if you're at 60 or if you're at 80, we obviously want you to work to get a little bit higher up to your body weight. So we will set realistic goals, but along the way, 100 will be, possible realistic number for you to hit. So then you break that down across 5 meals in a day. That's only 20 grams of protein in each meal. That's egg whites and breakfast, having some chicken, have some Greek yogurt, having maybe seitan if you're vegan, or tofu, or some fish if you're vegetarian, and then cottage cheese, all of those things. Those are protein sources. And then, good quality protein bars or protein powders. That is your protein in a day. I just broke it down for you guys. So I probably got a little off topic there, but I just wanted to pinpoint the importance of that macronutrient, because I think that's really important for women to understand, getting protein in.
Oh yeah, no, you're quite right. And I was out yesterday, and this is something that definitely happens with age, that we stop eating as much of those, particularly protein. I was out and I saw older people with a cup of tea and a scone at lunchtime. This refined white carbohydrate, not a drop of protein to be seen anywhere. And and that's a massive mistake for us to make. I like a scone, don't get me wrong, but
chocolate in the middle too.
Yeah. Well, so I suppose sometimes you just do have to get a bit imaginative about getting the protein in. And I have this tip to make porridge or oatmeal, as you might call it, and incorporate a beaten egg and then stir it into your porridge. And it makes it really lovely and creamy, and it doesn't taste eggy at all. So, there's little, I'm sure you've got lots of tricks up your sleeve to help people to keep the protein intake up, because this is the building block of muscle. We can't make muscles without protein, can we? Or can we? I don't think we can.
Well, you need all three. They all three work together. All three of the macronutrients work together.
Yeah,
protein
true.
and carbs work together. Carbs and fats work together. Protein and fats work together. But protein is the macronutrient. I like to say macronutrient god of strength. It's definitely going to be what's going to build and repair and get you the muscle, skeletal muscle added to your body.
Yeah. So, and that business you mentioned then, repair, the building block for repair. And I work with people as a physiotherapist who, with injury, recovering after surgery. And, one of the things I'll say to them is just fill yourself full of protein.
Yes.
And, to aid this healing process that is going on. And so I'm on board with that. It isn't easy. I get it. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But the wonderful thing about protein is it's really filling. And so, for me as a through my perimenopause time, which is behind me now, I have to say, oh my gosh, craving, feeling hungry all the time. If only I'd realized that protein would really have spoken to that, and given me so much more to build on, and get me through that time of craving like it was going out of fashion and not understanding.
Yes. And you and like so many other women experience that too. Like if anybody is listening to this and by the end of the day, you are ravished, you're so hungry, you want to, snack. And that's because you're not giving your body enough of that one macronutrient throughout the course of the day to keep you satiated and full.
Yeah. Well, I think we've talked about that now.
Yeah.
I think people must be getting the message.
Protein.
So, but yeah, the building block of muscle, and muscle is something that I'm really trying to work on for myself. Now, it can be difficult entering that world of throwing dead weights around, or even moving some of those machines in the gym that people, and women in particular, can be a bit nervous about entering this world. They don't want to end up looking muscly, although I wouldn't mind, to be honest. I wouldn't mind feeling a bit more muscly, but yeah, it doesn't have to be that way, does it?
No, it doesn't. But I hear you, and I hear everybody that has that type of fear. I too had it at the beginning. I too also was afraid of the weight room, afraid of stepping in when there was, I was always like, oh, what are people watching me? Am I doing this form right? So I would always go up to the cardio equipment when I first started my journey, and that wasn't getting me where I wanted to be. So I had to bear the confidence to walk into the weight room and to just kind of figure it out. What I used to do, and this may be help your listeners, I used to wear a hat. And I treated it as like a blinder where I couldn't see anybody and nobody could see me. And so I was just there doing my thing. So that's like a tip that I have. And then too, I also, struggled with the thought of being bulky. I remember telling my coach that at the beginning of starting bodybuilding. I was like, I don't want to look like a man. I don't want to get too bulky. He was like, that's not going to happen. So rest assured, all of the listeners, it's not going to happen, especially if you're women. We don't have as much testosterone as men do. So we can't, at the rate that men can build muscle, which is very fast, we can't build it that fast because we don't have as much testosterone in our body. Unless you're, taking unnatural things, you're doing unnatural things, you're not gonna get bulky. Muscle is such a beautiful attribute to a female body.
Yeah. It gives us the shape. In the arms and the neck and shoulders. It can help to stop us feeling quite so scrawny around the neck, can't it?
Yes.
I'm a bit scrawny. I try not to be, but
you look good.
Oh, well, thank you. It's the middle section as well. You know, it's sculpting every muscle in the body, leg muscles. You know, I was reading the other day that bottom muscles, the gluteus maximus, it's the biggest muscle in the body. There's got to be a reason for that. It's important. And actually, it's the biggest muscles that we lose most from. So, I mean, stands to reason, really. But so working on gluteus maximus muscles, again, you know, this is not going to happen if you're running yourself silly on the treadmill, is it?
No, you'll get a cardio butt if you're running yourself racket on the treadmill. It'll be even more saggy if you're doing that. It's strength training to build up the glutes, not only in that respect though, to make them look nicer or work the biggest muscle of the body, but also to provide, as you age throughout your years, stability. Kind of it does falter, and I know you do this in your work, but having almost like your core is what is the center point of your entire body that keeps everything stable. But glutes is a great thing to think about in terms of building stability through them, so that you have kind of, that you do have the balance doing everyday activities, getting groceries, walking upstairs. So that's also important too for the physical function, mobility. Yeah.
I mean, we're probably not going to be on the stage winning medals like you were, Nikki. So, but to think about our everyday lives, the muscle is what allows us to function. And I echo entirely what you said about the stability piece. Muscle gives us padding if we fall over.
Yes.
And hopefully it can stop us from feeling unstable if we trip or fall, trip or slip or, whatever. And so that, it really cannot be underestimated, the importance of doing this strength training. Now, maybe the gym isn't, right up your avenue, but there's lots of different ways that we can approach strength training, isn't there? And I absolutely love rubber bands. People laugh at me because I love rubber bands so much. But body weight and body weight training is a lot of what I do with Pilates, with yoga.
Yes.
It's not easy, believe me. It's definitely not easy.
Yeah, so I wanted to share with you too, because I did my first Pilates class this past weekend.
Oh my gosh.
And
Amazing.
I'm so excited to incorporate that into my routine. It was like the basics. So they were just making sure the movement was good and you're going through learning how to use the reformer. But I could feel with the different, being able to pull the different resistance. That's a beautiful way of being able to build some strength to your body, along with the resistance bands, along with body weight. Yeah. And yoga, there's so many amazing ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be the barbell and the dumbbell and the grunt work, but that is a great way of putting resistance to the body that, you may not be able to get through other certain classes, but incorporating those classes in also is just, it doesn't have to be all strength training. It can be a nice blend of everything.
Yeah. And I think ultimately that is, we're training for life, not to win competitions, for me anyway. So we're training people to be able to bend down, touch the toes, reach between the shoulder blades. Like you said, lift something heavy out of the boot of the car, grandkids, whatever it might be. So we're training for life, and that's a concept that I've lived with my whole life. Like I said, my dad was this Olympic athletic coach, and training, it's just something everybody in the family did. We did it together, and we did it forevermore. And I actually, I say I go to the gym. I don't say I go training, but actually, if you think about it, that is what I'm doing. I am training. I probably underestimate the work that I do, on a weekly basis, every week, without fail, even on the holidays.
Yes. I love that. That was my motto too. When I transitioned out of bodybuilding, I was like, I just want to train for life. I don't really have like a end goal that I'm working towards anymore in terms of how I used to, but I just want to be healthy. I want to live long. I want to keep up with the grandkids, the kids, I want to do all of that, and I want to be strong while doing it. So yeah, train for life.
And
I love it.
It's very empowering, actually, isn't it? That feeling of strength. In yoga, we've got some poses, the warrior poses, and they're channeling power. The powerful poses, and you feel powerful when you do them. And that translates across or carries across into our everyday lives. That feeling of power and empowerment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, well, I mean, have you got any sort of top tips that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yeah, of course. I would say top tips when it comes to muscle building and why it's so important and beneficial. I've got specifically 5, maybe 6, but what I want to I want to pin this. You said this earlier. You called it an organ. I think everybody needs to understand that is what Dr. Gabrielle Lyon says is that muscle is the organ of longevity. And the more skeletal muscle that you have to your body, it honestly can add years to your life. And as we age, once we hit 30, our muscle mass decreases, our skeletal muscle mass decreases by 3 to 8%. I think that was a statistic from the National Institute of Health Sciences or something along those lines. But it decreases 3 to 8% per decade. So I want to just highlight like why it's so important is one being it improves your metabolic health. So it increases your metabolic rate. It can make your metabolism faster and stronger. It increases your bone density. So a lot of women that go through the phase of life of menopause, osteoporosis becomes a big possible risk / disease that a lot of women experience. I remember when I worked in the emergency room, which we talked on a little bit before, but in 5 years of working in the ER, because I had my bachelor's in science of nursing, and there were so many women that came in with hip fractures, and it hurt my heart seeing that they probably have never exercised, or incorporated any type of strength training. So if you work out and you apply resistance, Pilates, yoga, anything, exercise in general, barbell, dumbbells, it can help prevent osteoporosis. We talked a little bit about balance and stability and flexibility. Those are really key ways to improve through strength training and improve physical function. The mental health benefits of it. So mood, the cognitive benefits, the stress reduction that working out and strength training or doing any of these classes can do. Cardiovascular health, better quality of life. So those are like the encompasses of the benefits of strength training and building more muscle, skeletal muscle to the body. My tips are, I would say, like, if there's anyone that's listening here that's new to the world of strength training, I would recommend telling yourself when you pull up to the gym, or if you're doing this at home, that you have full-blown confidence in yourself to step into the weight room, to try out the machines, and believe in yourself to be able to incorporate those, because it's so important to incorporate those things. You can't let the fear of, judgment or not looking like you're doing the form right or being afraid of the weight room to stop you from incorporating a really important aspect in your life. So what I like to say is wear the hat, walk in, say, I believe in myself. I got the confidence. I can do this. And then one tip for nutrition. If you're not aware of your nutrition, the one thing that I could say is bring awareness into the situation. Download MyFitnessPal, download a tracking application, and just track your meals for 7 days. And after those 7 days, if you do the work, you will see where you may be falling short. And then you can start to improve. Since you're aware of it now, you can start to take action to improve the nutritional aspect and get your protein in. So there's my mouthful of all of the tips.
Well, thank you so much. I think the mistakes people do sometimes make is thinking that the gym is a way of what shall we say, combating what happens on the plate at home. And actually, it's much more about that marriage of nutrients and movement. appropriate nutrition and appropriate movements, and so to get that balance, because I know, it can be, you hear people at the gym, because we're there a lot, and that I've just done this and now I'm going home to eat this, or I'm going home to, the idea that, and really that's just, unless it's about fueling the body because they've worked out and they need that fuel on board afterwards, because that's definitely the case.
Mhm.
But do you know what I'm saying? I think it's, and you know what, the food industry and the fitness industry have got it made, if that's what people are doing.
Yeah, what I like to say is nutrition is king, exercise is queen. You can't
Yeah.
outwork a bad diet. You can't outwork a bad diet.
No, that's right. I like that. I don't know if I read it on your site, but I definitely love that. You cannot, and that's the truth of it, isn't it? Because it isn't just affecting our physical health; it's affecting our mental health. These empty nutrients, the foods that are totally devoid of nutrition, essentially, for the most part. So, yeah, get wise and really start to get honest about what's going on in your life, and know that you can turn these things around, and maybe sometimes you just need a bit of support. So
Yeah.
and I know, Nikki, that you have got this amazing organization, and now you're not on your own. You've got staff, people that do this work with you,
Yeah.
and helping hundreds and hundreds of women to really transform the way they look, the way they feel, the way they show up in their lives. So tell us more about that.
Yes. So if you guys are interested and, align with all of the things that we're talking about here on the podcast, or on this show with you, Philippa, WarriorBabe.com can really support you in nailing down your nutrition, nailing down your strength training, giving you a program to follow, being able to individualize the nutrition aspect to what's going to serve you to get the results. I can't share that yet. But if you are a new customer, I almost just dropped the ball there, and I haven't released it to our whole community yet. So we're only releasing it we're trying a small wave of clients. But if you are new, if you come into WarriorBabe, you will be able to understand what I was not just allowed to share. But we have a whole team. We have 100 people plus on our team that make up a different departments. We have customer success, we have sales, we have coaching division. Our coaches there's about 45 coaches on our team. They each have an individual roster of about like 50 clients that they work with, and all individualized support. There's macros and nutrition aspect, but then there's accountability aspect where we really hone in on giving support through calls, through Zoom, through, huddles with their clients. Like the whole group can come together and support each other. So it's a pretty cool atmosphere that we have at WarriorBabe. So yeah, if you guys are interested, you guys can go to WarriorBabe.com.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll definitely be checking that out, because I want to know now what it is you couldn't tell me about.
Philippa, I'm the worst at secrets. Like I cannot keep them.
No, me too. Oh, well, thanks so much, Nikki. It's absolutely wonderful to meet you and chat with you. And, keep on spreading the news. Muscle is just amazing.
Thank you. I will. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks so much for joining me. So remember to give us a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe to hear more Moving Through Menopause. So I'll say goodbye for now, and thanks so much again to my guest, Nikki. Bye for now. Thank you. Bye now.